Aloha! Welcome to Sally's Home Cooking. This week's recipe is Moringa dinner roll, Malunggay Pandesal. Stay tuned! Before we gather our ingredients and prepare them, let's preheat the oven to the lowest setting. Mine is 170 degrees. We will rise the dough in the oven. I use bread flour for my pandesal. Some of you may have seen some recipes that uses all-purpose flour and sometimes a combination of both all-purpose flour and bread flour. Personally, I choose bread flour for my pandesal because it's softer and chewier. Pandesal is a common bread roll in the Philippines. It practically means salt bread, but quite the opposite. Pandesal is a bit sweeter, or it's sweet rather than salty. Pandesal is not pandesal without breadcrumbs. Although I don't use the regular breadcrumbs here, I'm using the panko and a special machine I got on Amazon. If you want, you can find the link below on the description where to find this. I use this spice grinder or coffee grinder not only for my breadcrumbs, but I also use it for making my moringa powder. I dry my own moringa, which we will use today for this Malunggay Pandesal moringa dinner roll. And you want that breadcrumbs to be a little bit fine, create that authentic pandesal. So here's the list of all of our ingredients already prepared and ready to use for our moringa dinner roll. So now you have to mix the milk and water, and you want this at a warm temperature, at least 110 degrees. So I put it in a glass container because we will microwave this, and I don't want to microwave a plastic measuring cup. So you want to microwave this to only 30 to 45 seconds because you don't want the milk to be hot. You want it to be the right temperature. You don't actually kill the yeast. You want the yeast to come alive, and so making sure that it's only 110 degrees warm. Now you put the milk into the mixer and then add the yeast. Now I remove the dough hook for now because I want to mix the yeast and the milk together really well. You want the yeast to come alive. That yeast will create the fluffiness and softness of your moringa pandesal. Now don't forget to add sugar. Sugar is also a food for the yeast, so they need that to bubble up and come alive. I did not put the whole half cup of sugar. You just need a tablespoon or something like that so that you can feed the yeast. So now let's wait 5 to 10 minutes, let it rise and let it bubble up. And while you're waiting for that, you can mix all of your dried ingredients. Mix it well, use a wire whisk, and combine them all. And after that, check your yeast and make sure it's bubbling and it's coming alive. And if it isn't, you may want to dump it and redo it again. It's worth it. It is worth waiting for. Now you need to add your flour to the yeast mixture and incorporate this, mix it until all of it are completely mixed. And when the flour is completely incorporated, you can add the other wet ingredients: egg, oil, and butter. Make sure that your butter is soft, really soft, because you're adding this towards the middle of mixing the flour and wet ingredients. I will tell you that during this process, you will be tempted to add more flour. because it takes a long time before you see that the dough is coming to that consistency of a good bread roll. Just be patient. You have to trust me on this one. I've had multiple experiments, and I will tell you, trial and error. And I've tossed a lot of pandesal. I've even created a rock-hard pandesal. Now at this time, if you look at the dough, it looks like all of the wet ingredients are incorporated and the dough is not completely sticking to the mixer. Now this is the time you need to put a timer on, and strictly 15 minutes kneading the dough at speed 2. And now you can see the dough really looking good. And 5 seconds left on the clock, and the dough is ready. Now you need to really fill the dough and make sure that it is the right consistency. You can tell if the dough does not stick on your fingers, then it's ready. Oil a large bowl, I will tell you. Choose a large bowl because we have 4 cups of bread flour here for our pandesal. The pandesal will double, and I won't be surprised if it triple the size. I really like the feeling of this dough. It's really soft and fluffy, and I know that the result will be soft and fluffy moringa bread. And this is not just a simple bread roll, it is a nutritious bread. And if your kids do not normally eat vegetables, this is one way to let them eat their vegetables. We added a 1.5 tablespoons of moringa powder. Now cover that with a plastic food wrap, but don't cover it too tight. You want some room for the moringa bread to rise. Now we put that dough inside the preheated oven. We did this earlier at the lowest setting. So put it there, let it rise, and we will leave it alone for 1 hour. And I normally like to check it after 30 minutes. So just making sure that the dough is rising, and if it isn't, I have to start from scratch again. And after an hour, this is what it looks like. Voila! It definitely is alive. The yeast have done their job, and this will be a great moringa bread roll. Now it's time to make the dough balls and portion it. Single portions, equal portions as much as possible, and it depends on what you like. If you like it bigger or smaller. I actually like using a 1/4 measuring cup and create a bigger portion of pandesal. My family likes to eat pandesal as for sandwiches or burger buns, and so I like the bigger portions. It's time to sprinkle some breadcrumbs into our pandesal rolls, and pandesal, authentic pandesal, needs that breadcrumbs. We will leave these pandesal rolls on the counter for another 30 minutes and let it rise. And here you go. This was after 30 minutes, and you can see it is bigger. Now let's preheat the oven to 390 degrees and bake the pandesal to about 10 to 15 minutes. And for my pandesal, personally, I only bake it to 10 minutes and it's already golden brown. That's the look you want. And as I promised, the pandesal is really soft and fluffy. Yum! Thank you for watching. Let me know if you've tried this recipe. Leave a comment below. And please give me a thumbs up, subscribe in my channel, Sally's Home Cooking. And until next time, ahui ho!